it has something to do with the aspect of motherhood that I'm more related to these days, which is grandmotherhood.
Yeah.
And it's from way the heck back in the back of the book. But I like it, and all I'll say about it is it takes place in India in the waning days of the global pandemic. So, anyway, I saw her as she turned a corner far down the street. She was wearing a sari and carried a large basket. She seemed familiar. As she approached, I put my hands together in greeting. Namaste, I said. She returned the gesture with one hand, maintaining her grip on the basket with the other. Namaste. You are the woman who came to Rumgar one day, yes? I stared. It wasn't my imagination after all. You're the girl who fixed up my friend's injured shoulder. She smiled. I come looking for you, she said. I invited her in. How are things at the big house in Rumgar? All dead, Mrs. Only me and the boy who takes care of the gardens. But what about the baby? Surely the baby didn't get sick. No, baby Samant is fine. That's why I come. I'm bringing him to you. I stared at her. What? Where? She reached for the basket then and moved aside the blanket. Samant was sleeping, long dark lashes resting against pudgy, ruddy cheeks. He was exquisite. You will take care of him, she said. You said he's your grandson. He belongs to you. Well, of course. I heard myself say this. I watched myself begin to shed tears and mumbled foolish nonsense words as she took the sleeping child from the basket and placed him in my arms. She said something about a bottle of milk, and I think she said she'd come back tomorrow and bring a goat, and then she was gone. I don't know how long we sat there, holding the baby as if I were afraid I might break him. My mind a swirl of strange thoughts and sensations and memories, and the odd notion that I ought to unbutton my blouse and offer my breast to my son. No, my grandson. I felt something warm spread across my skirt, and it took me a moment to realize that my grandson had peed. I had never in my century plus a decade year of living been entrusted with the care of an infant, but I remembered reading something about diapers, and I reached for the basket and found a folded piece of white cloth that I thought met the description. I laid the baby on the table and he began to wail. I tried to say calming things, all of which sounded utterly silly, but which seemed to have the desired effect. I unlatched the device that held his diaper in place and removed the wet cloth. I stared for a moment at his tiny genitals and then at his little fists that flailed wildly as he kicked his legs and emitted noises that I thought sounded wonderfully happy. How could this oddly proportioned being ever transform into a full-sized human? I laughed at the idea, and baby Samant squealed and smiled. I dried off his little bottom and tried to figure out how to attach a clean, dry diaper. My first effort was unsatisfactory, leaving a gap on one side where I could clearly see his miniature penis poking through. I swear he laughed at me. My second effort was a little better, and I thought it would have to do. I picked him up and spread the damp blanket over the back of the chair to dry. I hadn't thought to ask how old he was, what date he'd been born, or if he had any names other than Samant. I could ask the girl when she returned with the goat. Had she really said she was going to bring a goat? I sat down and laid the baby in my lap with his head on my knees. I placed one hand next to his and he grabbed my finger. You're a strong fellow, aren't you? I said. You're going to be fine, Samant. Nana Malia will take care of you. And I burst into tears. The baby began to whimper, his lower lip quivering pitifully. I clasped him close and we cried together, grandmother and grandson. You're an old woman, Malia. How can you possibly raise this baby? What are you thinking? You're not even a healthy old woman. This was a problem. I needed to think.
I just finished something, writing about my experience going into the courthouse and submitting my application, and this is from my new writing. Words on a piece of paper, such as a court order, driver's license, or birth certificate, does not make a person a female. It is from within. It's the way they carry themselves, the way they behave. Men and women do indeed behave differently. The internal feeling and the sense of being who they truly are. There are numerous characteristics of being a lady. Being a modern day lady, of being a female, or of being a modern day female. Now, as I begin my next chapter in my journey, there are the following characteristics of being a female, which is now my solemn vow. She believes in her Creator. A lady knows that her identity is rooted in her Maker. Her strength and vision comes from daily prayer. She has a heart for justice. She has a strong sense of right and wrong, and is passionate to see the oppressed redeemed. She is steadfast. A lady is consistent across time and circumstances. When she makes a commitment to herself, she doesn't allow pressure or trends to cause her to waver. She is original. She has role models and mentors, but she never copies or compares. A lady knows that being inspired by God will lead to longevity and passion. She's always learning and remains teachable. A lady is consistently growing, is thirsty for wisdom, and is never a know-it-all. She is a seeker of truth. A lady is not spineless. She defends the truth even when it's not popular. She draws boundaries. Being kind doesn't mean that you are a people pleaser. A lady has boundaries in place regarding what she will and will not allow. And people know where the line is drawn, usually without her saying so. She is noble. A lady does a good thing even when it's not expected of her. For example, she blesses someone's reputation who is attempted to curse hers. She is gracious. A lady is never above thanking someone, no matter how small or who it is. She is sincerely thankful and always expresses her gratitude in a meaningful way. She uses her words wisely. A lady refrains from gossip and negative talk, remembering that her words are a reflection of the content of her heart. She is hospitable. Even if she doesn't necessarily have the intense gift of hospitality, she does her best to ensure her guests or the people around her are comfortable. She is adaptable. A lady knows how to navigate various social situations and settings with ease and confidence. A lady is kind. She is also inclusive, always aiming to protect anyone from feeling like an outsider. She promotes moral excellence. A lady does the right thing even when no one else is looking. She is a leader. A lady is the president in any given situation. She knows that she has influence and uses it to lead people to good. She is humble. A lady gracefully allows others to shine and have their moments. She is self-aware. A lady is aware of the experience of others having with her. She quickly realizes when she is in the wrong and needs to apologize to someone. A female is not what's between her legs or on her chest. It's not the panties or the bra that she wears or even the dress she wears. It's what is in her heart, soul, and mind. People are way too often judged by how they appear rather than what's in their heart or their thoughts. When God created man and woman, He also created and implanted what's on the inside of that man and that woman. He implanted goodness and goodwill toward all people. My journey matches the advice I was once given. Always do what's right, always follow your heart, and don't ask yourself what if years down the road. And now I am taking the road less traveled.
So
yeah. One thing I didn't say before was that in the minding your own business theme, things only got complicated once other people started giving me advice. So just keep that in mind. These are 3 short poems that I wrote the same time as the other piece. It's just hard to work through these decisions and what you're going through. So this one's called Not Without You. What is this strange place? It looks like home, but it is not our home when you're not in it. Where are your hands, your face, your kind smile? I cannot find you here. In the early morning light, while your eyes still fought to slumber beneath dark covers, I sought your heart. You turned and curled, and I found my place in you. My place is with you. I cannot breathe when you are not. That one's for my husband because in considering this decision, we're talking about maybe me moving for a while and him being here. So that's just absurd. This one's called Give Me All of You. I want to talk to you about romance. No, what I really want is for you to show me that my being near you is still heavy. You gave me pears. I think that's when I fell in love with you finally, against my will, against my struggle not to. Pears that were so perfect, they stopped time, and all I could do was close my eyes and drink them in. The best days, those memories of you with me without anything but sunlight, my small room, the love seat, and time. What changed? What made everything so normal, so commonplace? You are not commonplace to me. I still yearn for your kisses, your caress, your hand, your stare. I love being loved by you. And I don't know if you know it, but my whole heart adores just you. You are my love. You are my way, my truth, my light. Shine brightly for me, my love. Shine so that I might find my way to you always. Be my savior, because despite my best efforts to hide it, I do need saving. This shell can break. This woman does fail. And like paper blown in the wind, certain but wandering, waiting to find peace, I will find it in your love. It's really funny to be able to read those things to strangers, and I shared one of them with my husband, but not the others. I can't read that. Right? That's probably better. The last one is called You Asked If We Were Falling in Love. I turned my head and thought hard how to answer. Everything I learned about love, I learned from the movies. Romance, being hopelessly adored and carefully cherished. That is not. When you found me on the bridge overlooking the Thames, under the Tower of London with the lights of Westminster Abbey floating on the surface of the lapping waves, that ring you gave me would have been too tight if my hands weren't so cold. I waited 2 whole days before telling anyone. It was not my time. It's my time now, and no one seems to understand, not even you, how much that matters to me. What I want, what I fought for, I have been granted. And would you take that away from me for a veil of security? If I go, well, you've already made up your mind to leave everything you've worked for to follow me to New England. Why? How is it possibly that easy for you? For you and only you would I stay, but not without a fight, not without a struggle. My dreams run too deep, and so too do my doubts about myself. The time for going is now, but why then does it not feel quite right? He who gives up freedom for security deserves neither. Benjamin Franklin said that. But what of the woman who wants a good life but can't find a hand to guide her through the door? Oh, what a great sorrow is this blessed life. With you by my side, nothing should bring me down like this. But right now, nothing could be harder. A dream, my dream, lost to an unforeseen offer of security? No, I will take you with me now. I found out it's time to go.
Give me a minute. I'm a member of the Austin Facial Hair Club. We have like an online group thing going on, and it started blowing up my phone at 9 o'clock in the morning today, and I didn't get to bed until 5 a.m. And I said, guys, shut the fuck up. It's a Sunday. We have a meeting in a couple of hours. My buddy Dwayne said, get the hell out of bed, call your mother.
Yeah.
I said, Dwayne, you and I have hung out with my mother, and she told us we are not allowed to hang out together because we're so rude to each other. So this is my piece for Mom. Thanks to the glasses from Thom.
You're welcome.
Let me see your teeth. It looks like you broke your nose again. You should take more magnesium. Surround yourself with white light. I'm doing a tarot reading for you. I'm lighting a candle for you. You need to get back into acting. Your astrological chart means you're prone to head injuries. I'm cold. Put on a sweater. My mother is a nag. And she doesn't really sound like that. She's not even from the Jewish side of my family. That's just how she sounds when she yells at me. Mind your own fucking business, Ma. Why don't you ask me what I'm doing instead of telling me what I should be doing based on your limited data set of my life? When I call her in public, people always get confused because it starts with, yo, Ma, where you at? They can't tell if I'm speaking to my actual mother or my baby mama, which I find hilarious. When I introduced her to my darts game and we all took a cigarette break, she said, I'm so sorry, my son is so loud, and he says cunt all the time. My buddy Seamus, whose wedding I will be officiating in a few months, replied, it's okay, Trish. You raised a fine gentleman, and his language and volume have actually become endearing. With my mother, I live, believe it or not, and with the way I look, I'm the good son. And believe it or not, I was this size when she gave birth to me. I mean, definitely a trooper, my mom. With my mother, I live in a weird variation of don't ask, don't tell. But for me, it's ask before you tell. Whereas my father used to say when it came to housework, you can tell me what to do or how to do it, but not both. So happy Mother's Day to anyone in the room who has gone through the pain of squeezing out a kid and then trying to raise it into a good adult. But yet, mind your own fucking business, Ma. I turned 40 this month. But while I might not have my shit together, my shit is not entirely apart. And I'm a grown-ass man.
Up next, Liablewriter.
All right.
Well, Mr. Brian Grosz hurt Cara this or most of this Sunday last week.
I ain't hating.
Pardon me?
I said I ain't hating.
Oh, no, you're not hating. It's just I'm precursoring this, and I hope I don't get the chime. But
Well, I just already precursed, so.
well, no. Talk. My time. Start the time now. Okay. Anyhow, I was outside of the Spoken Heard event last Sunday and speaking to a mutual writer, artist, who I really vibe with. I believe her name starts with a C, just leave it there, who is a mother. I'm also a mother, and none of y'all might have known this, but in 2007, I carried twins for a short period of time. I've always wanted to be a mother since I exited the uterus. April 12, 1982, I feel like the little newborn in me was like, wow, it'd be cool to be on the other side of this, you know? And then by the time I was 3 and 4, I had God knows how many photographs of me holding infants sitting down with this enormous grin on my face, like I've wanted to be a mother my entire life. And I lost fraternal twins, boy and a girl, in 2007. And also the partner that I conceived with is also gone. He passed in 2014. And he hadn't even met 40 yet. And so at 36, I'm looking into, you know, doing the self-healing, self-care, self-love I need in order to invite my new immediate family into my life. I'm working on trust, healing, getting these fucking seizures out of my life. And I also want to sing a little ditty that won't show up on the YouTube because this part that the open mic doesn't get posted on YouTube, right? It does. So I can't sing the song because it's ASCAP. Like it has to be after 23 or what's the rule? Thom, you know the rule.
923, if it's before 923 it's fine because in common, but after 923 ASCAP rules and you can't do cover songs.
Okay, well I'm not going to cover the song then because especially since I haven't had enough awards yet. Anyway, the twins' names, I won't say my partner's name for protection. He's deceased. But I would say my children, my fraternal twins, babies, they would be 11 in December, around the early part of December, which was also around the time that my partner had his birthday at 71. And yeah, this is the first Mother's Day that I've been able to celebrate and speak. That's the first Mother's Day I've been able to speak on it. First Mother's Day that I'm actually celebrating consciously, and I'm very proud of myself. And I just hope y'all are able to. Can everyone just wish me Happy Mother's Day?
Happy Mother's Day!
Thank you guys.
Two poems here that will be under 5 minutes. Ways to kick off a new year. Fires, broken glass. In Ecuador, in empty suitcases walk around the block. In Spain, they are eating grapes at midnight. And they're eating black-eyed peas in the south, because who doesn't want some more soul in their food? And an old farmer in Romania is whispering to his animals, hoping they will talk back. And in Venice, St. Mark's Square is filled with 100 kisses. A tree is planted under frozen water in Siberia, and in Brasstown, North Carolina, they are torturing some poor possum, and I'm not sure what that has to do about anything, but apparently it's tradition. Some folks just join a gym and go once, while others don't get that far. Jennifer is planning to travel. Sol is talking about going to Europe. Some go to confessional or jump in the Atlantic Ocean to get washed clean to the sunrise. Whisper your resolutions down a dark alley and keep on walking. Pour your regrets into your finest silver serving tray and leave it soaking in the moonlight. Then stand over it at midnight and recite the secret incantation of your choosing. If you mutter anything long enough in Latin, it's bound to sound magical. It's like telling your darkest secrets to a piñata right before you smash its head in. And here's one about sexy cannibalism.
Sexy and cannibalism?
Yeah? Oh yeah. Through metaphor. Show me that wild onion heart. Let me wash it clean under the tap. And we can sing while the dirt circles the drain like vultures over a patch of interstate while they eat what they love most. I would slice and dice the bulb of your core, saute it in oil, and devour it with a hunger matched only by a cyclone bursting through barns, ravenous, crossing county lines with no regard for their arbitrary borders. Throw yourself headfirst into the stink and mess of the romantic. Eat the one you're with. See, how much time?
Oh, I'll let you know what time.
Oh. Okay, let's see. Oh. Whiskey Ginger Waltz. I want to pour salt on your watermelon heart and bring it into the city. The perfect snack dripping fresh down my chin. Fresh as the first kiss of a new year after the lightning charge. The countdown to midnight. That no man's land where two pairs of honey lips come together, where liquor and citrus meet. The gin bows to the wedge of lime before the jitterbug jams. And the whiskey curtsies to ginger before waltzing down the throat. Burning, 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 my own heart is on fire now. And if the gods had a lower tolerance at the bar, they might become a little sentimental, yanking at the strings of fate so two dumb kids might come together, share a few cold ones, and dance real close. It's the sweaty, sweet, slow dance. It's the bourbon and bitter shim sham. It's the annual dive bar rite of passage of my hand on your hip into the dip, swinging into a disappearing act. Big finish before the curtain of last call drops on a neon night.
Eric Lee. Oh, I thought you were signing up to read. Okay. In that case,
that's mine.
Brennan Utley.
It's very good. I'm just gonna start where I left off, I guess.
Good be Bob.
Here. Maybe it was the latex wearing dominatrix that had made him think of it, but either way, the lyrics of a Velvet Underground song popped into his head. I am tired, I am weary, I could sleep for 1,000 years. 1,000 dreams that would awake me, different colors made of tears. The sounds of the conflict before him became too much to bear, and he could feel ferociousness within himself beginning to unwind. But at the same time, the hipster continued speaking basically to no one. Like so many of them, they were clearly thinking out loud, focused on everyone else's business but their own, on the process and not the solution. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe the author is searching for a political solution, an alternative. Hasn't that been the problem with the left for quite some time, not providing a workable alternative? So much criticism with little to no solution. Maybe a festival itself, maybe an imagined world is enough of an alternative to view things differently. What do you think? Stop, Ace whispered, breathing in and out with heated agitation. Stop, he started yelling, his fists clenching. The entire scene froze, fists and faces, signs hurtling through the air and clattering with the crisper. Please stop, I'm so tired of this. I'm tired of everything, we all are. We're tired of ourselves, let alone feeling tired about some perceived other of people different than us. I can't do this, I can't, none of us can. And if you think you can manage yourself in this fucking environment, you're a liar. The entire group opposite him was confused. They scrunched up their faces in dismay. Does anyone understand what this kid is talking about? I don't get it. Criticize me, I don't care. I'm just afraid of you motherfuckers. I'm not doing the right thing, I'm doing the wrong thing. I'm being shamed, publicly shamed. We all are. And we're killing each other over it. Can't we see we have a shared desire to better ourselves, to find connections? Is no one else but me so tired they could puke? He felt a sudden urge to vomit up the sloshing sea of fried food in his stomach. He wanted more than anything to get out what was inside him, and even just to get some sleep. They stared back at him in disbelief. Well, we can all agree that this kid doesn't have a clue, right? Yeah, not a goddamn one. Hey kid, you sleepy? They laughed, doubling over and pointing directly at him. Sleepy little kid, he needs a little nappy nap. Someone get him a little bottle, too tired to live, huh? What a baby. They wouldn't stop laughing at him and pointing, but isolating him only furthered his resolve. Ace was used to being alone. It was like breathing to him. He turned around, shoving his hands in his pockets, and wandered back to his tent, leaving the chaos behind him for now. He needed to try and lie down one more time before getting up for good, even just to rest his eyes. He needed to try to put this, whatever it had been, behind him. But they called after him, yelling as he walked away. Walk away, sleepyhead, walk away all you want. This isn't going away. It never does. If anything, it expands. And it's heavy as hell. Someone's got to lift it. If not you, then who? As he began to sleep, a line of music came to him, and it was one that he could even sing in the bloodstream of his dreams. You've got to carry that weight. You're going to carry that weight a long time.
This is titled On Selma. The day after my mother's 82nd birthday this year, her overbeating heart, the one that kept time with the chaos of her family, that broke with each disappointment of her sons and her daughter's losses, her heart that normally flushed oxygen and blood to her flesh, tightened and ceased to function. But I would say that my mother's heart actually began the giving up process with my father's passing in 2011 and the end of their 58-year union. In marriage, we're told about the 7-year itch when happiness begins to decline. In grief, it's called the 7-year glitch. The years your memories insist on living in the past, barricading the path forward until every last cell in your system has regenerated itself, replacing each piece of tissue and its memories, all aches of the heart and flashbacks of the mind, until finally no trace of anything related to the one who left remains with you. This is, of course, a myth. But one can see how it is that we lean in towards the number 7. 7 days in a week, 7 continents, 7 wonders of the world, 7 colors in a rainbow, 777, your lucky numbers for today's lotto. My mother loved to buy lottery tickets. She would sit and wait in the evenings for the news to flash across the numbers on the television screen, small children looking over her shoulder in anticipation with her, my father looking on in silence, shaking his head. He thought she was wasting his money. She thought she was wasting her life. When I was in my mid-30s and while my parents were visiting Austin, I asked my mother a question as we sat outside rocking away on my screened-in porch, drinking from wine glasses. We were having what I considered an open moment, when I knew I could ask anything and get the truth. Without a precursor of any kind, I said, "What made you stay?" And maybe it was because she was 1,500 miles away from the suffocating walls of her Michigan house. Maybe it was because I was an adult and calling her mother instead of a child whining, "Mom!" Or maybe it was because my father was napping in the guest room and not there to correct her words, nor any grandchildren to interrupt her sentence of thought. She glanced at me sideways. Not mother to daughter, but woman to woman. When I saw that she understood, I continued. "I mean, it was clear to me that you didn't want to be there. I'm not blaming you. From the outside, it looked like a miserable life. But I have to know, what made you stay?" Without a denial of any kind, she said simply, "I knew I could never live with myself if I ever left you kids." My mother was 63 years old then, and it was probably the first time she'd ever admitted to wanting to disappear and be rid of her young motherhood full of diaper changing for the 10 children she bore. The daily washing of dirty clothes and sweeping and vacuuming and preparing 3 meals a day, and all those hours she was trapped in her small house because she didn't know how to drive, and my father refused to teach her because he didn't want her to work outside of the home. Until finally her depression turned outward and she threw off his yoke and demanded that her 17-year-old daughter teach her to drive so she could take the only job she was qualified to have without a high school education. A pickle packer for Velasic, standing for 25 years on the manufacturing line because even this back-breaking work was better than being cooped up in a house with noisy children and a demanding husband. "Well, thank you for staying," was all I said. A month after Mom died in March, I dreamt about her. In it, she and I were at my father's house, a place that did not exist in real life. We were there to see if he was settling in okay. My father reassured us that he was fine and all right on his own. He even acted slightly annoyed with our showing up to check in on him. He was, after all, in his version of heaven, which apparently included living like a bachelor. When I woke in the light of reality, I realized that my mother was leaving him. She was going in search of that life she never got a chance to live on Earth. The one of an energetic young woman with new dresses and out dancing every night, vacations to big cities and tropical islands, maybe even a life similar to that of her post-retirement years, which included month-long visits with my father to Texas, until his health declined, requiring her to remain trapped in that house again, caring for her ailing lover. She was leaving all of this, only temporarily, of course, because as mundane as her life appeared to me,
She loved her children, especially her husband, whose absence she mourned every single day in the last 7 years of her life. Today, probably right now, she is traipsing along in wherever it is people go when their bodies cease to function, but where their soulful minds still believe in paradise. I want her to have the chance to recreate an existence in which the only needs she's required to fulfill are her own, where her wants matter, and where mom is not her name, but Anselma.
Imagine, if you will, that every part of us were conscious and interdependent upon all others for survival. Consider the effects of such necessary affiliations, because the poet always needs a plumber, the engineer a barrister, the healer a believer. Electrons need to agitate, protons to be stable, neutrons to witness from a distance. Now, what if every frame of your life's movie were transparent to every other part of you? The government knew all your secrets, the priest kept all of them, the butcher shop turned vegetarian. And change compounded like a wave, Doppler or surfer, train or air train, blood circulated without philosophy or plumber, barrister or engineer, simply a surrender to the great unknown. And all the little lesser unknowns we see every day like pimples in our mirror. One can always blame the mirror or replace it. There is no need for reflection, just surrender, just love. Why, we will remember you, or maybe parts of you, or a line or two, a twisted smile when this world seems true but turning toxic in a tide of refugees in orange jackets and one drowned baby on the Mediterranean shore. Now, we may not remember what you said this afternoon. It will be that act of kindness when you shared your bread with every homeless, helpless exiting from heroin. We will talk of your kindnesses then and wonder that the age of hard did not make you soft as rock when crushed beneath the boots of bullies. You came up to hold the arm of another broken one, and when, in silence, you offered all you had to those with less, we felt blessed that we did not have to follow. Too easy the whipping, torture for the truth. Too many public crucifixions on pay-per-view. Pope says, I made a mistake, there is no hell. Mark Zuckerberg said, I make mistakes, Facebook needs to be regulated. Before artificial intelligence is used to seek, locate, and X all faux news, perhaps restoration of your creative processing might be employed. Philosophy, logic, rhetoric, declamation all have value in curriculum, as does creative writing, lateral thinking, music, history, art, and aerobic activities. This does not mean classical education, Latin, Greek per se. Just the relearning of language as than code brings to mind Navajo wind talkers and classically trained academics used in British intelligence, Ian Fleming, Graham Greene. Socrates may have corrupted Athenian youth. His pyretic methods stand. Time for clear thinking again, time to examine all dominant paradigms, time to restore human learning over code sharing. Now, we all know those broken in a war of attrition, hating their ex-lovers, despising their partners, cynical of happiness and contentment. They continue their war until Korea is divided, Syria becomes a refugee nation status, and Iran is threatened with extinction again. Now, we recall our responsibility in this, our love of bomb and drop in emotional relationships. Hiroshima, Nagasaki, we made copies, Chernobyl, Fukushima, but our Harrisburg, 3 Mile Island, our White Sands, Nevada, still radiate poisonous uranium emotional poisoning. What sort of a relationship is this? Our only Earth of more than 7 billion pollutants, our only oceans plastic, oil in our blood, war as love. I surrender. Hug trees and friends, cuddle those with cancers, primitive, pagan, primal. I still feel the juice of moontides and write what you feel when love returns to give away everything, just to show that we survive. Your experience is everything. Man wants to be hollow bell, to ring the seasons in like bluebells, like buttercups. Man resigns from strip mining and dirty coal. Man washes in rivers to cleanse palates. Woman as river, as bends and curls, alchemy higher than oil and water, and meet as butterflies make, to sing as unconditional birds, to relate as open eyes and hands and skin, rainbows over beginnings, storms over controls, all that once has transmigrated. Leave your eggshells. Be reborn into beauty as a lizard leaves skin to become all that once was and is still living within. For the love of life, we're never alone, we are never alone, we are never alone. Louis Zybo's last words for his artist poet's wife, Louis, twin twine, soft as silk, strong as spiders, we're always ever together. Even as life is taken by a harshness, softness, and solidarity. Here is where poetry takes a temporary home in your temporary hearts, to express both bond and release. Before you ask why these words are necessary, question each bird as to wings and song, why each bird flies over walls and borders to find a nest in the trees of another. I have a friend, she is very, very religious. I am not. Her house burnt down, she was burned, 90% of her body engulfed in flames. When she was painfully recovering in hospital, she saw healing angels. Now I do not believe in angels, but she believes in angels. And we are friends still. Beliefs are formed by circumstance, and all our lives are different.